by that point, I was in Spain and kind of just um, learned to kind of barter with bed and breakfast owners. And I say, hey, I'll come stay here. Maybe I'll have an apartment for me. And then I'll do some things, some hospitality sort of things. I don't know, whatever it is.
Wait, how do you just learn that? I mean, don't you think that's a little bit of a like you would stay in the residences or whatever, right? And they would just be fine with that as long as you built their web frameworks or something? What are we talking about here? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Educative Sessions. My name is Li Gong. Educative Sessions is a podcast series with people in the developer world about their coding experiences. And Educative makes it easy for authors to provide interactive and adaptive courses for software developers. Today, my guest is Kelly Revenaugh, who is an evangelist at Galvanize. And we're going to talk about the leap that she made into the technical evangelism world, but took some interesting turns along the way. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So your story begins with like your journey into code very early on, and however, like it wasn't exactly the sort of romantic journey that I hear a lot from other people. It was more of like I don't think. I mean, you actually do hit a wall. So why don't we start at that point with your story?
Yeah, so I worked in ed tech in
Cool.
California for kind of like a startup company that was around for a long time. And we worked specifically with K-12 schools, and um, we partnered with Apple and Intel, and I was doing a lot of really great work, but was just so burnt out in tech marketing and doing kind of 60, 70-hour weeks. And by that time, I worked in tech long enough to know that I really loved tech, but wanted to like get behind the scenes of actually building the tech.
Right.
And definitely didn't realize it kind of was just spinning my wheels and working towards the marketing side rather than the actual product side.
Mhm.
And I knew there was definitely power in knowing both, but I needed to kind of get away from that kind of environment and just really cut myself off and learn how to code from there, because I wouldn't be able to do both at the same time. So my bright idea was to code on the road. I worked since I was 15 years old basically, and
Yeah.
never really had like a college experience. I learned everything on the job.
Okay.
So I never had like a semester abroad or going out anywhere. So I flew to Spain and started learning JavaScript and Ruby on Rails at the time too.
Wow.
It was
How are you learning? Were you just doing like online classes or?
I was going through a female kind of uh, coding boot camp. It was called Skill Crush. It's
Okay.
still around today, but it was 6, 7 years ago. So it was really in the first development phases. So it was basically like an online tutorial for Ruby.
Mhm.
And like I would go through tutorials, and try to understand it, but I never really had I was by myself a lot of the time. So I didn't really have anybody I knew that learned this way. I never knew anybody who transitioned their career over to it. They've either learned CS from a CS degree or have been coding for 20, 25 years, but nobody who like really transitioned. Um, so by that point, I was in Spain and kind of just um, learned to kind of barter with bed and breakfast owners. And I say, hey, I'll come stay here. Maybe I'll have an apartment for me. And then I'll do some things, some hospitality sort of things. I don't know, whatever it is.
Wait, how do you just learn that? I mean, don't you think that's a little bit of a like you would stay in the residences or whatever, right? And they would just be fine with that as long as you built their web frameworks or something? What are we talking about here?
Well, before it was just more of the hospitality sort of thing. So
Okay.
it was like greeting guests, maybe hosting a happy hour sort of thing. But then by the time I got to Morocco, there was already a large portion of um, companies and travel companies that had people on board who were yoga teachers and things like that. And it's really common to do some sort of trade,
Hmm.
which I'm just now finding out about.
Mhm.
Um, and by that time, when I got to Morocco, I'm like, what can I kind of offer? I can't surf. I can't teach yoga. I'm not like the most hospitality kind of person. But then I realized a lot of them had really just old websites and nobody was dedicated to the website portion. I'm like, maybe I can convince them to have me the same kind of trade, but to do some kind of like tech work for them.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah.
So I mean,
And
I'm so curious. Like, what were they using websites for? Did it actually was it just merely because you were just kind of told to do it and you going down that road? Was it actually used in an e-commercial kind of way?
some they're in between where a lot of them um, were known locally, but they didn't have any kind of big web presence. So
Mhm.
people who are coming from outside, from America, and coming to Europe, didn't really specifically know about these small Airbnbs. They that was like kind of the early times of Airbnb, but nobody was really on there. So
Right. Right.
having some kind of SEO or some kind of website was more than 50% of the people kind of companies had.
Mhm.
Um, but but it was kind of like they built this website 10 years prior and just have been using it because they don't have any kind of tech person or somebody who works specifically with them. um, so yeah, so
Okay.
by then I a lot of them, the other thing too is a lot of them specifically in Spain and Morocco were targeting people from Europe, and they have packages. So they have like surfing packages and yoga packages, or kind of like a remote working community, um, but wasn't able to show that off in any way.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, as you were working with these companies and I guess these places out in Spain, did you eventually discover something about those experiences and what you wanted to do for yourself?
Yeah, once I started pitching them, where I'm saying like, listen, I can help you get your ideas actually on your website, because I understood a business owner perspective of they're really good at directing or creating this product, but it never really transferred over to tech. And I realized that a lot of people aren't able to speak both, especially with smaller businesses where maybe they have an IT person or a tech person, but there's such a disconnect between the conversations between them. And I realized if I was able to speak both tech and development kind of code, and even just speak it rather than completely write out and be the best engineer,
Mhm.
I could speak on the sales and marketing and the business owner side too.
Mhm.
So I was pretty good at the sales and marketing and all that kind of side, but really needed to work on my tech skills in particular. But I knew that was a sweet spot for me personally, where it really blended both my kind of creative thinking and my analytical thinking together.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
Wait, was there also another trip in this journey as well? You said, I think in our discussion before, you were in Spain, but you were also in Morocco as well.
Yeah, so every month I would kind of spend a month in a country and would kind of just go there and get some kind of Airbnb and things like that. So I moved down to Morocco and really loved it in the southern part. It's called Agadir. And um, yeah, so I moved kind of down there for a little while. From there, I was up in Lisbon, kind of working with tech companies there, and just meeting random people. I was gone for about 10 months total. So
Okay.
kind of just made myself around 10 different countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with all those experiences, you started off, wanting to learn code, but then perhaps maybe hitting a bit of a wall and going abroad to essentially makes your use of money a flexible enterprise from there on out, and discovered an opportunity for you to barter some of your skills in beautiful countries like Spain and Morocco. What did you discover there that led you to the point that you're at right now?
I think the other thing too is it really kind of goes back to community, where they not only in kind of in a tech community of meeting other kind of engineers and other people who are doing this, but like lots of businesses and every kind of business has some sort of community around it. And for me, it wasn't necessarily being able to code out their packages or anything, but it was more of like bringing their community to life that's in person, that other people can experience or even just know about online. So for me, it was more of like telling their story and being able to tell their story rather than actually coding itself, because coding itself wasn't really exciting to me.
Mhm.
It was more of just like a tool needed to be able to tell a story.
Wow. So, in other words, what you discovered in all these processes and what motivates you to now is not so much that code is the end game for you, that it's actually a means to an end. And for you, your end is community, is engagement, is finding ways, which honestly makes a lot of sense considering the kind of work that you're doing. Uh, I think we've actually exhausted all the questions that we had planned for today. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about your passion for community spilling into the company and the work that you do now. So please, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So right now I work for Galvanize and I'm an evangelist there, but I specifically work and have created a kind of Slack community for people who are looking to transition into software engineering, data science, but kind of like the people who are thinking about transitioning, but don't have like friends who have done it, kind of like I did before, or kind of need emotional support before they actually go through either learning themselves or going through a galvanized program or things like that. So
Mhm.
we have some really cool content there for basically kind of teaching people what they need to look out for in tech once they kind of transition their careers in 6 months. So I would love if anybody wants to kind of join that. It's called the Galvanized Tech Community, and I can send you the link to that. But we just hit 2,000 members this week, which was
Wow.
fun.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, I believe that's a good place to stop right there. Kelly, Revenaugh, I want to thank you so much for being part of our show. And I also want to thank anybody who's listening and watching this show as well. Thank you so much for listening to this educative session. You can check out more of our episodes on YouTube as well as on Podbean. And lastly, if you'd like to learn more about what we do at Educative, please check us out at educative.io. So for all of us here at Educative, thank you so much and happy learning. Bye-bye now. Hope you enjoyed that. This episode is available on YouTube and also on many podcast platforms. If you'd like to be part of Educative Sessions, the form is open now to apply. You can also email me at lee@educative.io. Lastly, don't forget to like and comment this video and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more content. Thank you so much for watching and happy learning.